Here you go. Hello, hello, Matthias. I'm very
Hello.
happy to have you as one of our guests, part of the campaign Zero Waste Christmas Gift. This is a campaign that really the main idea is to share knowledge, experiences. But before we go to that, let me introduce you from two perspectives. The first perspective is my personal perspective, and the second one is how you see yourself. But starting from the first one, um, I know I've been knowing Matthias for a couple of years. I don't know how many, 4 or 5 years now,
5 years
and
at least.
5 years, right? And we had the pleasure to have him as a guest lecturer at one of our boot camps, the International Talent Factory Camp, where he did a magic show. It was an amazing experience for everyone, I believe, and it was I mean, we perceived it as a real magic, but as an individual, I met Matthias in Denmark, where I saw how much he's into personal development and helping people grow in general through coaching. So many things have changed since then, and he will say what has happened with him. But let me introduce him from his point of view. So Matthias is a life coach and traveler, and these are the two things that represent him the most. But he also defines himself as a curious person, and because of that, he has found himself in countless discussions with many different cultures or political orientations. And in each of those circumstances, he came out being a richer person. And that's why he would share some insights on how to get the best of any circumstances that life can bring to us when it comes to having a different opinion from somebody. So, Matthias, very happy to have you. So, the floor is yours to share your perspective on ways to win an argument, agree to
Yes,
disagree.
great. Thank you very much, Andre. It's a pleasure for me to be part of this project, for be uh, part of this opportunity on create a positive impact in people by bringing these kind of topics. I think Christmas is coming from everybody, and we all know that Christmas is sometimes sharing table with people that think differently. And I think being prepared for this Christmas to have a peaceful Christmas, it will be create a good end of the year for all of us. So first of all, I would like to talk about why we think differently, right? So we grow in this life and we have uh, a lot of experience that shape us in many ways, right? So it's important to know that we all see life in a different way based on the experience we had before. So some people that grow in a religious family will see some things about religion in one way, and people who grow up in, let's say, an atheist family will see life in another way. And that's not good or wrong, but it's just to understand that we literally see the world in a different way. And there's many things that are wired in our brain that make us to think different, right? So it's well known that as human we are tribals, we are social beings, and we like to to group in people of thoughts and beliefs, right? So back then, when we didn't have social media, we group from tribes, right? So being right, it's important for the human being. It's the way to know that we're going to survive, because being wrong, it creates a lot of fear on our survival kind of mode. So being right, it's really important, so we defend that. So when we become a tribal being, being right, it's also defining who we are. So that's the first problem, right? Because sometimes some people define themselves but they beliefs and their thoughts, and when you're having a discussion, right, and you're trying to bring up your own idea that maybe it's different from what they think, it's most likely people think that you're attacking the person behind the idea and not just the idea. So they probably feel threatened by your idea, because that can bring your whole reality down, right? It's trying to tell a person that it's really religious, that God doesn't exist. And that's a strong statement for that person, because it breaks a lot of foundation of how this person it's think and work and life and act in life. So it's interesting to think that we think different based on our experiences, but also because we are wired to these kind of things. And that's why it's so funny to bring this idea of the confirmation bias. And biases are things that are really interesting for me, because it's things that we cannot escape from. It's I think you know very well what are confirmation bias, and there's a few of them. I also have a link. I have a few links that I'm going to share at the end of the presentation that can help to go deep on these ideas. But it's interesting, this thing of a confirmation bias, because as soon as we believe that something is right, we're going to do everything that it's possible to confirm that, even though sometimes you can have a strong statement that says the opposite, right? So it's interesting to know, because when you're talking with somebody that has a different opinion, you will need to understand that that person also might fall on one of these biases, and it will be really hard to talk with that person, because it's going to search everything on their favor to confirm what they are trying to think. And I don't know if you hear about this little game. I have the name of of the person. It's Peter Cathcart Watson, and it's a little game that I have. I don't know if you hear about the game of 2 4 6. I'm going to throw to you, if you want to participate a little bit. I'm going
Okay.
to throw to you the three numbers in sequence, right?
Okay. Okay.
And I'm going to only tell you if what do you say it follows my rule or not. Okay, so there is a rule on this sequence of numbers. I would like you to throw three numbers that can be sequence or not, but I'm going to tell you after you say the sequence that you think that follows my rule, and the idea is you to know which rule it is. Okay, I'm going to say you 2 4 6 is a sequence that follows my rule. Do you have another
Okay.
sequence that do you think that follows my rule?
1 4 7.
That's perfect. That follows my rule. Do you know what rule it is based on that?
Well, just the arithmetical simple rule of having a certain step and just progressing the numbers accordingly.
Okay, you can tell another that follows the rule.
Sure. For example, well, I can try.
Yes, sure, of course. This is
1, 5, 9,
perfect.
30,
Can you tell
30,
me one that doesn't follow the rule?
1, 3, 12,
That follows
26.
my rule.
Yes, it does.
It does.
Okay, how?
I'm going
Uh,
to do this for the chat. If there's somebody seeing the live, I don't know if there's somebody, but
Explain
also
it to
will be
me.
nice.
Yeah, explain it to me.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea of this rule that you can play around with your friends, it's like the rule is just increasing numbers. But as
Okay.
soon as soon as we think that something follow the rules is 2, 4, 6, and we think that the rule is increasing by 2 or 10, 20, 40, that the rule might be multiply that for 2, um, when we think about that and at the very beginning we give a rule like 246, people will try to find everything that it's on their hand to prove that that is right, and they will not think out of the box because they're reaffirming what it's right for them, which is like follow a sequence or things like that, and that's follow on this confirmation bias. I'm going to share one link with 12 more confirmation biases, not confirmation, cognitive biases, that will help everybody to understand that sometimes when you
You
talk with
can share it
somebody.
now as well,
Yes,
if
okay,
you want.
I can. Yeah, I have the link right here. So cognitive biases, should I copy where about?
Yes,
On
yes.
the chat?
Yeah,
Sending. Okay. I
and I
think I
can.
cannot. I cannot. I send it to you by messenger, so you can share it.
Yeah, okay, no problem.
So basically, the first part of the chat of this presentation, it's focused on why we think different. So we think different because I think two main things. One is the set of beliefs and experiences we had before, and another one is all these biases that make us maybe do not know why we think that way, but it's kind of tricky to deal with somebody who is falling into these biases. I think the cognitive bias is one of the most common ones, and it will help us to understand that we need to have a critical thinking. So the best way to prove that you're right is try to prove that you're wrong. Because if you think that like meat is bad for your body, and then you go to Google and search why meat is bad for my body, then you will find a lot of things that confirms that thing, and that's not the like say a scientific way to approach truth in between quotes, right? So it's important to know that it's not the same to talk with somebody who have born in a poor family that somebody who have born in a rich family, because they have a different set of beliefs. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying like it's important to know what's the background of the person to understand how and why we think different, and understand that there's some things that escape from their conscience, because there's some stuff that are way ahead of what they're like critical thinking is about. There's people who have no idea that they're falling on this, and Facebook does a really good work on that, for example, because every time you like something, the algorithm thinks that, oh, let's show more things about this to this person because that's what he likes or she likes or they like. But I think it's important to know that, because Facebook is falling into this confirmation bias all the time. If you have a certain political orientation, it's most likely that your Facebook is showing all the things that reaffirm that things and not showing the opposite things, because we don't like to have opinions that can break our beliefs, right? That's again um, all those thoughts that can break our thoughts and our reality. So those are two things that are really important to know. So why we think different. And the importance of thinking different, and I think this is a key point as well. It's because we need, in order to grow, in order to seek truth and be like more close to like a better version of ourselves, is to find people who think different. The best teams in businesses or in everything in life, it's people who are not the same. It's well known that if you want to have a business and you are a very extroverted and open person, you might find a better experience if you find somebody who is not the opposite but can think in a different way than you. So it's always to have an introverted and an extroverted, because in both ideas you can find the balance. Because if you find somebody who always reaffirm what you think, then you will fall in one of these biases, but at the same time you will not have the chance to grow and open your mind. Many times I found myself, mostly in political conversations, to talk with people that thinks different. I like to think there's something on their statements that can bring light on my own things. I'm not saying that I will agree on them, but I would say, like, I would try to prove that what I think is wrong. And for that, I need somebody who thinks different. Because if I think that I'm wrong, then I have chance to grow. If I think I know everything, then I'm stuck. And I practice this a lot with my coaching chats, with people. Mostly when I have trust with person, because I confront the people. So if somebody brings me an idea, whatever it is, I try to negate that idea. I try to create conflict with that idea. I'm trying to prove that they're wrong, even though I maybe agree with them. But my work is to make them feel the fear of being wrong. And there's people who change their opinion, for a better opinion, or they think about what I'm saying and they bring up a better idea or a new idea, not better, but a new idea. And there's people who say no, they're really firm on what they're trying to think. And then I know they're quite sure what they say. If they doubt about what I'm trying to bring to confront them, then I know they have something else to learn about it. But if they're firm and they know what they're doing and they know what to say and say, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, like maybe they're falling one of these biases. But other thing is, like, maybe they're really sure of this thought on their life, right? So part of my work is to think different, so I can put that person in this kind of situation in where need to think why they're right, and why this thought or belief is good for the life or not. So thinking different for me, it's really important. I love when I found somebody who thinks different, because then we are going to talk how to talk with these people, right? Not always it's easy to think with somebody who thinks different, because sometimes those thoughts are maybe you know breaking our own values or life, right? So there are some certain subjects that are more delicate to talk than others, and sometimes it's hard to talk with somebody that talks different, right? So things different, it's really important, and I would encourage everybody to have the opportunity to find people who think different and give them the opportunity to bring some light to our life, right? So then it's how we talk with these people, right? How, when we encounter this situation that we're going to talk with somebody who thinks different, is how to approach it, right? Of course, there's some people that escalate on violence, and when those things appears, then it's better not to even engage in people who are not willing to have a healthy conversation. And I understand that sometimes those arguments can be decisive on whether you're going to feel right or wrong on this conversation, right? Some things are really important, and that is really hard. But as soon as you feel like the conversation is escalating, the voice it's getting higher, and you find people trying to argue and attacking yourself rather than your idea, I think it's better to step aside. And there's nothing good coming from an argument that's escalate into violence or into these kind of things of being really close, right? So as soon as you understand that the other person is willing to have a conversation that it's both way, then I think the best thing to do is finding common ground, right? Is to find in what we agree. What are the things that we agree on the core of the conversation, right? And that's really good on political things because what we agree. We agree that we all need to have free healthcare. We all agree that we need child support. We all agree that certain politics are good for people or not. And then we can talk about how to approach them, but at the very beginning, finding common ground, it's a way to say, I'm not against you. I'm with you. We're here for create something that it's positive, right? Or to reach common ground, it means we are in the same line, rather than if we if I attack your idea as trying to feeling that I'm right. So finding common ground, I think it's really important for the very beginning. Like what is the first things you would like to do when you encounter somebody who thinks different? Like find common ground. Say, okay, we're not agree on this, but what we are agree on, that is going to make the person also be more available to talk. Because when you start finding these things that are in common, then you can create more empathy. You can understand that the other person it's bringing something in order to grow together, and not just to having this conversation and whether it's right or wrong on something.
Can we give an
So
example, Matthias, for common ground? For example, if I
yeah.
say that I support Argentina
Yes.
at the final, is that a
Yes.
common ground between us?
Well, that's a, let's say I talk with somebody from Morocco, right? And that person says, I would like to win Morocco because it's my country. And I say, well, I would like to have Argentina win it because it's my country. But we can find common ground. Say, let's say, okay, maybe we can understand that this is football and this things happen inside the field, and whether who wins, there's going to be a great thing. Of course, there's a lot of feelings. I'm talking like not being an Argentinian person, because I'm not being euphoric and emotionally. But I feel like finding common ground is, let's say, okay, think about it. I know Morocco maybe never been in this situation, but think about Messi. Everybody loves Messi. Everybody wants Argentina to win just because Messi, because he's breaking world records, because he's the last World Cup that he's playing. And I'm not saying like finding common ground means that I'm going to convince that person to get my point. But let's say, okay, we can agree that the common ground is like this is football, and beside our differences, we all want to have a good time, right? And if we find common ground, and maybe you grow up seeing Messi because it's a worldwide name, you might find some empathy for Messi, and maybe not for Argentina, and trying to find this common ground. I mean, I'm not a person that I'm really crazy about soccer or football, and I don't have any issue. But when things spice up, let's say more political thoughts or orientation or discussions, then it's get more complicated. Maybe the chat will bring some ideas on how to find common ground in certain circumstances, and I will maybe both of us uh, try to bring what will be a common ground, because it's we need to find something that will really think different, right? And I don't think we have many of those thoughts particularly. But yeah, I think trying to find the common ground is the way to say I'm friendly, right? Is to say, okay, I'm striving to find what we have in common, and that's good for humans because we like to be right. We need to be right in order to survive in some way, right? So finding common ground is that it's showing yourself as a friendly person, as to say, like, I'm willing to find something that unite us beside our differences. Okay, sometimes can be really hard, sometimes maybe can be impossible, but I feel like you can give it a chance to de-escalate the conversation, right? So another thing that's going to help you is generally listen to the other person. You know, sometimes when we are having a different opinions and we having these discussions, sometimes we don't even listen what the other person is saying. We don't give the space to the other person to 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 the time to them to talk what they're thinking, right? And we are already thinking what we're going to answer. You know, somebody brings up and you already think, oh, but I'm going to say that because that's what it's my mind, and that's going to negate what he's saying or what she's saying, whatever. But it's important to listen. It's important to give the chance to the other person to talk, to the space to the other person to talk. Sometimes I have people in front of me talking things that I believe that are way, way out, and I still have empathy to let them to talk, you know, and let them to to say what they want to say, because that's also showing, hey, I'm friendly, I'm here to listen to you, and I'm going to respect your time. At the same time, that's going to give you the chance to have your own time to talk, right? Because otherwise we fall into these discussions that we are all yelling each other like on top of the other, and that those conversations never reach any healthy point. So it's important to give them give the space to listen, right? And to genuinely listen. Maybe that's another thing, that maybe you're wrong. You never know. We all growing up and changing opinions, because that's growth. If we think that we know everything, then we're stuck. So understanding that we might be wrong, give us the chance to listen to the other person and to give the chance them to bring that something in our life that can, you know, be be growth for us. So it's really important to listen. It's because you also open to be wrong, you know, and understanding that you can be wrong also bring this this idea of the cognitive dissonance. I don't know if you might hear about it, but sometimes when we have a strong belief about something and somebody came out with a different opinion that breaks that belief, we might fall in what it's called a cognitive dissonance. And I have this link to share with you. I'm going to give it right now. That video. It will help to understand what is a cognitive dissonance and
By
how
the
to
way,
identify. Yes.
Matthias, just one thing
Yeah.
before
Sure.
we go to the cognitive dissonance, which is quite interesting. I was thinking about what you said, the importance of listening to others. And have you seen this movie, The Great Debaters? Have you seen it?
No. No, but I
Well,
will check that out.
it's an amazing movie based on a true story of Professor Melvin Dawson, and this professor is a professor at a college with black kids, and this is something that is happening in 1935. So you can imagine the time, right? So he inspired the students from the schools, black students, to start debating, and they became so good at debating that they challenged the Harvard team. And I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's based on a true story. And one of the things is really how important is to listen to the person in order to agree or disagree. It doesn't matter, but especially to get your opinion across. So that was just, I will share the movie as well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then we can move to the cognitive dissonance. Sorry, it just
No, no, that's perfect. Actually, yeah, it's really helpful that you bring your own thoughts and experience as well, because I think we all go through these difficult conversations now and then.
yes, basically every day in a way.
Well, yeah, more if you, at least for us, or for me, in my experience here in Argentina, we are so euphoric and we're so emotional that conversations fall into soccer, football, or politics, things get really hot, right? The heat on these conversations are quite interesting, and it helped me to understand that I don't need to escalate myself. I don't need to fall into this game of mixing my emotions and trying to feel. I understood that what I think it's what defines me, but at the same time, I think that doesn't really need what it defines everybody. So when somebody brings me an idea and they have their arguments and they have, their own opinion about it, I don't feel threatened because I don't feel they're like attacking me. And that's another thing. Whenever we are in a discussion, do not attack the person. Try to focus on the idea. Move the person away because, again, if thinking different it's that important that make us being a better person, why to lose an opportunity to have this talk with somebody who thinks different? Why we turn into a fight, or why we escalate into violence, something that can make us better, right? And I think it's because nobody told us how to have a discussion. You say this guy teach all these kids how to debate, and
Yes.
then they can debate with anybody. It doesn't really matter how high is your IQ or how much information is in your backpack, or how much you study. Again, I'm a person that I haven't been in college, and I feel confident enough to have a discussion with everybody because I'm open to be right, I'm open to be wrong. I have my own values and I have my own ideas, but I don't defend them because that doesn't like define if I'm going to survive or if I'm going to die. I'm just saying like I'm like this and I'm allow you to be however you want. And that's really important. That's empathy. It's like every time you find somebody who thinks different, it's an opportunity, it's not a problem. So there's no need to feel threat. And another thing is, don't take it personally, right? Because sometimes you're going to find the other person attacking to your person. And what to do in those circumstances, because it's quite uncomfortable to have somebody who is attacking you when you're having just a different opinion. And for that, I have another beautiful link to share, that it's don't take it personally, and the importance of the ego. Because one of our biggest, let's say, companion that can bring us a lot of difficulties, it's our ego, right? Our ego needs to be right. So coming back to this cognitive dissonance, when we are not right, our ego does as much as he or she can to be right because we are in danger. And this cognitive dissonance is really interesting because you can identify people that are falling in this cognitive dissonance, and by doing that you can handle better the conversation. Because people who fall into these things, if you don't treat them with empathy, then you will not get anywhere. You will just waste your time talking with somebody who is not willing to be open to talk to you or open to listen to you. So recognizing those cognitive dissonance are going to help you to be more empathic and say, oh, okay, this person, it's what is the cognitive dissonance, right? When you have a truth and somebody come up with an idea that conflicts with that, and the argument is strong enough to make you doubt about your thoughts, then you fall into this kind of defensive mode, right? Whatever you're going to say, it's going to be wrong, and then I'm going to try to do anything that I can to move out from this conversation because I'm in danger, because I'm wrong. So recognizing those things helped me a lot to be more empathic. When I talk with somebody and then I bring a new idea to them that change their point of view, then I'm not in a superior position. I'm actually with them, saying like with empathy. But sometimes when we are right, we say, aha, I'm right, and you feel this power of being right. But the best thing that you can do when you're right is like, okay, I'm right, great, we find common ground. So let's keep talking, let's keep growing. It's like I bring something that for you was insightful, or was interesting, or it's important for your thoughts, and that's a good thing, and not be greedy on the power of being right, because that's also what happened. You get right, and you feel that thing inside of you, that aha, I catch it. But I think the best way to do it's to be more normal, you know like take it easy, and go with that. I think one of the skills that I have for being coach, it's I never took something that the other person doesn't know as incredible. Sometimes you don't know how something works, and somebody come up and say, oh, it works like that, you're so stupid, because this works like that, and this is so easy for me, that how you don't know how this works. And I think that's really, it's hard to take, because you feel like stupid. It's like, I don't know how to do it, and I have this person that for that person it's really easy, and he's treating me like bad because he know how to do it. So understanding those things, as a coach or as a person, makes you, when somebody doesn't know something, even though it's really simple for you, just treat it with love, and take it easy and say, okay, you don't know how to open the tap. Okay, that I don't care, I will explain it to you. And you don't need to bring that and to escalate into what it's something that it's not bringing anything good for the other person. So something that coming with this idea, it's important, it's knowing what you're talking about. And this is for most of political conversations. Many of the political conversation and based on suppositions, or based on things that we don't even know. Somebody asked me the other day, what you're going to vote next elections. I say, I mean, honestly, I don't have the tools to know that, because I haven't made my research. So I know that there is a big gap between two political orientations, but I haven't read and learned what they want to bring, beside the fact that I do or not believe what they say, right? But many people bring ideas without arguments, bring idea without where they get that information. Today we're in a world of sharing Facebook or Instagram posts without even check them. So it's really important, if you want to talk with somebody who thinks different, is that you have your strong arguments based on information that you have researched, and not your thoughts, because then you can fight forever without having the right information. You can fight endless to somebody who is only fighting because they want to be right, and they don't have, the right arguments, or they haven't researched and they don't really know. So a good way to talk with somebody who thinks different is like, if you have an opinion, research about that opinion. And the best way it's bringing to the beginning of this chat is like, try to prove that you're wrong as much as you can. It's hard, but as much as you try to be wrong, then you're close to the truth. So then when somebody else tries to make you like step on why you're wrong, then you're trained on that. Okay, so I have some ideas, and if you try to make me think that I'm wrong, I have done that exercise with myself before, so I know what I'm talking about. Or at least I have these arguments and I have these thoughts that make me know what I'm talking about, and that's confidence as well. Because if I know what I'm talking about and I have the right arguments, then you can do whatever. I mean, you can tell me whatever. I mean, I'm not, it's all right. You can think different. I'm not going to be on paralyzed on the way that somebody is trying to prove that I'm wrong. So that's also really important to know, because you don't need to expect them to change their mind. The idea is to think different. It's like to grow, not to change their mind. I understand that there's some values and there's some things that are really important for us. There's some politics that are life or death for people. So when those things comes to the table, sometimes we want them to change their opinion because we think that's healthy for society and for maybe life or the situations. but some people won't listen to you, and they're not going to do anything for that. So my best idea or my best tip that I can do is like choose your battles, and don't try to fight everything or every argument. That this, I know your ego wants, because your ego wants to be right, but there's no need to get involved in any circumstance. More if you recognize these confirmation biases or this cognitive dissonance, if you have the right tools, then you will know which fight is going to be good for you and which fight it's going to be endless and no reason, getting nowhere, escalate, maybe get into a violence, and maybe getting the whole Christmas dinner, throw it out the window. Because why to have this discussion with this uncle that it thinks different and is won't going to listen to you? Just let them be, and try to be in peace with yourself and with your thoughts. Don't feel threat on these circumstances. So yeah, I think pretty much I bring to the table all the things that I feel are interesting to acknowledge, and certain tools that I use in my personal life, right? The other day in the Argentinian match, I was talking with this family because I'm seeing all the match with this family. They have a really strong political orientation, and I bring something up because I like to spark a little bit conversations, and at the point they start to escalate, they start to get emotionally, and they start to raising the voice, not with me because the situation, because what they're talking about. I say, I listen to them with a lot of love because I love them, but I stop trying to chase a common ground. I stop chasing agreeing something because I knew they were just blind on what they want to share, and I give them the space because the opinion of the others doesn't shape us, so I don't feel that they were something. I didn't take it personally, they were not attacking me, even though they were yelling at me because I say a few things that may be controversial for them. But as soon as I understood that they're not going to listen, then I say, okay, this is not my battle. I would rather have a discussion with somebody who is willing to listen to me and is willing to find common ground, that rather a person who is totally close on their opinion. So yeah, I would like to ask you, what do you think about where are the from all the things that I have taught, what are the things that you think are the most important to take in consideration when it comes to talk with somebody?
Well, I'm thinking about these situations when you talk with someone about politics, and it's always tricky, and it's no se merece la pena, right?
No, no,
It's
it's not
not
worth
worth
it.
it. It's not.
No.
It's just. It. I believe that it never ends well.
Yes.
I have this rule of thumb of always trying to avoid conversations about politics in general.
Okay.
Considering the part that is uh, at least talking about certain parties. I mean,
Yeah.
we can discuss what left means, what right means, what the different policies mean, and how they combine. But I'm not interested in any particular party that is going to bring uh, the holy truth, right?
Yeah.
It's a combination of more than one party for sure, more than one policy, let's put it that way. And the other thing is the common understanding of thinking about people. We don't have this in Bulgaria, so the conversation is not worth anyways. In terms of cognitive dissonance, it's a very interesting topic to explore for yourself. And I have seen that in many different situations, especially when I have been absolutely sure that I would never do something. I've had these situations when I say, okay, I would never do that, and then I'm doing it. And this is an example for a cognitive dissonance, right? So
Yeah.
you have this belief, but then life happens, and your actions are quite the opposite of your belief, of your values, and then you don't know what to do in this moment except for accepting the moment and just seeing that from the, I don't know, from not so serious perspective. But
Yeah.
uh, I believe we've had this conversation a couple of years ago about chaos. Do you remember? About chaos and cosmos and the importance of chaos. How
Yeah.
important it is to have all of those different opinions, different perspectives, and to build your world on those different opinions and perspectives. So this cognitive dissonance thing, it's quite interesting to observe and to draw some conclusions. But the important thing for me is to work on your identity. So when you're working on your identity, who you want to be, through your actions, of course, or willingness to try new things in alignment with your new identity, it is work in progress. It's step by step, and it's much easier. And then you could be in these moments of cognitive dissonance, but they're not so harsh on you because you don't have this perfectionism going on.
Yes.
Okay, I shouldn't feel that way, or I shouldn't do that, or okay, yesterday that was my opinion. Now it's a little bit changing because of the opinion of another person, and it's quite fine to me to have these conflicts. Let's put it that
Yes.
way, and it's important. And through dialogue, you can either solve it or make it deeper and more complicated.
Yeah, I think to understand that we are humans and we might be wrong, it's a really harsh path, to be honest. Knowing that we are vulnerable and we made mistakes and we might find ourselves in troubles that we put ourselves, it's a hard path, but I think at the end of the days, at least for me, in my experience, I think it's the best that happened to me. Knowing that I can be wrong, it means that I'm not going to be that harsh on myself, because I might be wrong. I might do stupid things and I might take wrong decisions, and but what happened, knowing that I can be wrong, is like, wrong is not dead or life. Wrong, it's an opportunity to grow. So every time I do something wrong, let's say I have a goal in my life, and every time that I fail on the things that make me be close to that goal, I feel like, okay, it's not that I'm wrong. It's the thing, I made something that is not the way. So from the hundreds of ways to do something, I now have 99, and I will try 98 until I find my path to that. And allowing myself, it make me, okay, I make something wrong. How much time I'm going to invest on be depressed on that, right? So 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, how much I'm going to hit myself on this. And sometimes it's just, a couple of weeks of feeling bad. Then you move on, and then you try a new thing, and then you're wrong again. And yeah, it might be like tiring, but at the end of the day, every time you're wrong, if you keep trying, you're close to whatever you want to reach. So
Uh, And most definitely you need to first research and understand the cognitive bias, as you mentioned,
Yes, that's
because they are different, and to certain extent you are not aware that that
that you
you
have them.
behave in a certain way. Yes, that you have them. So it's quite important to research them and to see to what extent um, you could present them in an argument, or when you are discussing something that matters to you. But something that was quite interesting for me in this movie I mentioned, the Great Debaters, it was the fact that um, you basically um, don't necessarily weaken the point of your opponent. It's not necessary to attack it. Uh, you could just present your perspective in a different way that could trigger emotions, and can make people to relate to what you're saying. And it doesn't necessarily say, okay, these guys are not right, what they say uh, have merits, but your argument is stronger. So sometimes you could catch someone that his argument is not as strong, but this is not the point. The point is to have your solid point of view and to present it in the best possible way, and then people who are listening, they're the best judges.
Yeah, yeah, and I think at the end of the days, that's why the title is like that. Agree to disagree is a way to win an argument. Because if you have your solid ideas, your solid values, you don't need to attack the person, or you don't need to do an extra effort to prove something to anybody, because you are sure what do you think, and even though you might be wrong, it's what you believe at this time. So whenever you encounter this situation, just the word, okay, I agree that I disagree with you, and it's okay, I still love you, and I have nothing against your person. That's, you can see that happened to me many times. You can see the person how it relax. The body language of the person when you say, okay, I mean, I disagree, but it's okay that you think different. And it happened with my football team, because we play every Monday, and because we're just a bunch of amateurs playing soccer, there's plenty of ways to see the football, and we have many discussions and arguments. And I have one of my mates that it's kind of a good friend right now, but I disagree on plenty of things about football. How he see the football, I see it in a totally different way. And every time we have these meetings, we get a beer, because we always talk about the match of the last Monday. I always say to him, like, I don't agree with you. I mean, that's all right, but I don't agree with you. Okay, let's find a common ground. Let's say how we can direct the whole team, like the whole identity of the team, and not just my opinion or your opinion, because if the team thinks like you, even though I disagree, I'm a part of something, so I will go with that, you know. So agree to disagree. I think it's the best way to win any argument, because it's like, okay, that's right. You think free, whatever you want. Be free to think whatever you want. I'm not going to, be pissed at that. It's just I think different. And that's right. That's not dead or life.
And that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And this is the great things about having friends with
Yeah.
different preferences and different opinions.
Yeah, we need
Of
them.
course, we need them. Uh,
Yeah.
One of my best friends are supporting the biggest rival of my football team, and
No way.
and and it's funny. It's funny because we accept our differences, but we are not going to change our opinion perspective based on it. Just the acceptance creates this common ground, as you mentioned, and allows for creativity and for enriching the whole argument. And now when I listen to them, it's not that I start liking this
What they
football
say.
team. I'm not going to mention
The
the name of
name.
the football team. Doesn't matter. But in a way, uh, it becomes more understandable for me, and why they have chosen to be supporters of this team, or to support any cause, or to have a viewpoint that is different from mine. So
Yeah.
your topic is, I believe, quite important, especially for young people, but not only
Yeah.
for young people, because when you are young, you tend to be more passionate, and
Yeah.
you're not very much willing to lose an argument, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The ego over there is
Yeah.
the main driver. Yes,
But
well,
I think
uh, Matthias, thank you very much for sharing, for raising these topics. They're quite important,
thank
because
you.
in a society like Bulgarian society and the Argentinian society, I believe there are many
Yeah.
stereotypes and
Yes.
prejudice. So you need to know how to approach them gently, in a
Yeah.
different way, so people would be able to listen to you, so your idea could come across, no matter how different the idea is.
Yeah. And at the same time, I think is the best way to make your life richer, right? Because beside how the other people think of the life or politics of religion, well, the only thing it cares it's your life, right? So if you can make something to make your life wiser, you make your life easier, because having discussion with some stereotypes it's quite hard, you know. So if you choose your battles, and then you don't get into this game of fighting, then your life it's richer, it's wiser, it's easier. You don't have to get any situations in where you need to feel like you're in danger or threat by somebody, you know. And I think beside the way to treat other people, it's the way to treat ourselves. So have some self-love and approach people with the same idea, with love, right? Even though they think different, that's all right. Just make sure that you, your family, and your tribe is safe, and that's it.
Yes, and this tribal thing that you mentioned, this is so rooted in our consciousness. So
Yeah.
we are tribal individuals. So we need to belong to certain group, and the thing to open up to a different group, different nationality,
Yes, that's a
people that
beautiful
share
thing,
the,
man.
it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing, but this is the way to have a different mindset and to enrich your point of view. So thank you so much for bringing these topics up.
No, thank you for giving me the chance again. I know that we know since a long time, but we are not that in contact. So I think every time I appear in the Leader Academy, I'm maybe just a surprise of what I'm going to bring. But I'm happy of the opportunity, and I feel
It's a
like this.
it's a very important topic, and I
Yeah.
just cannot miss to ask you, what is your prediction for the final? And
Okay.
Well, which France or Morocco do you prefer as an opponent?
It's a hard question. I will say that I don't have a strong thought because I rather not to think about it than to overthink. So I kind of try to live my life and not get anxiety on top of what we already have, right? So I think both are great opponents. You know, France is the World Cup champion, but Morocco has this thing of a country that has, quote, nothing to lose, and it brings all these passion to the table. Argentina has the pressure, France has the pressure, Germany has the pressure, right? But we're in the finals. Morocco knows that, not knows, but Morocco thinks that in terms of players, Argentina has an advantage. So that's something that, in my experience, if I know that I have the chances to lose, I grow bigger, because if I win, I make something different. If I lose, it's what everybody is expecting. So I'm afraid of Morocco because they have this thing. And France, I don't know. I think it will be the hardest in terms of strategy, instead of pressure. I think it's going to be a closer game with France because both has a lot of social pressure. But I think I would prefer Morocco in terms
Okay.
of the finals, if you make me decide. But I don't know. I will never thought that we won 3-0 to Croatia. I think that's a big surprise. And I think what it has Argentina right now that it hasn't in the past, it's team working.
Okay.
Before, Argentina had a lot of great individuals, but they were not a team. Now you can see the brotherhood on every single step they do. And I'm grateful on this group of humans, and I think they have done already something incredible. And I don't expect anything else. I mean, they have done enough, and I think what they need to do is go out there and have some fun. And yeah, Messi deserves it. I feel, as an Argentinian, I think Messi deserved this because he have done throughout his life, like, in countless achievements. That this is one that it's might be the most important and maybe the last one. But yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, I'm going to support Argentina as well because of you, because of Messi, and because of the fact that I like your national team in general. And
Yeah, thank you very much.
and once again, thank you for being part of our campaign, Zero Waste Christmas Gift, with the aim of just sharing experiences and giving different perspectives and knowledge as much as possible.
Yeah,
And hope to see you once again in Bulgaria.
that's for sure. I'm trying to get the Spanish passport because a new law. So I'm happy to announce that might be a chance that I will be in Europe again, somehow, somewhere. So I will definitely
Excellent.
visit Bulgaria.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you once again, and have a great evening, Matthias.
Yeah, you too, Andre.